A man found dead on a beach. No name, no ID, no labels on his clothes, just a tiny torn scrap of paper in his pocket, with the words Tamam Shud, Persian for "it is finished." But this was no ending. This was the beginning of something no one could explain. December 1st, 1948, Somerton Beach, South Australia. A couple strolls along the shoreline just after dawn. The air is crisp. The ocean hushes in the background. Gulls circle overhead like drifting thoughts. Then they see him, a man slumped against a low sandstone wall, legs extended, ankles neatly crossed, one arm rested by his side, palm up, the other bent across his chest. His shoes are polished. His suit is pressed. A cigarette leans delicately from the corner of his mouth, half burned, never finished. He looks oddly peaceful, too peaceful. The man doesn't respond, doesn't stir. And when police arrive, the unease deepens, but only slightly. There's no blood, no bruises, no sign of a struggle. Just a well-dressed man in polished shoes, alone at dawn. At first glance, everything looked natural, peaceful even, like a man who'd slipped away quietly, lucky enough to be facing the sea. But then they checked his clothing. There was no wallet, no ID. Every tag, every label had been deliberately removed. That's when the questions began. Inside the lining of his waistband, almost invisible, a hidden pocket, and in it, a tiny scroll of paper. 2 words, quiet, final, Tamam Shud. And just like that, the calm began to crack. First on the scene was Detective Sergeant Lionel Lean, a seasoned investigator known for his meticulous approach and quiet determination. He had no idea this case would outlive him. They moved the body from the beach later that morning. No resistance, no urgency, just quiet confusion. It wasn't a crime scene, at least not yet. But the questions kept building. No one had seen him arrive. No one reported him missing. No lover searched for him. No family stepped forward. Not a single friend or colleague asked questions. He hadn't just vanished on the beach. He'd vanished long before he ever got there. Who did he leave behind? Maybe no one. Maybe that was the point. A man with no attachments is a man with no liabilities. And for some, that's the perfect kind of operative. At the morgue, it was confirmed. Every label had been removed. No ID, no wallet, no license, no keys. Nothing that could tie him to anyone. But he was well dressed. A double-breasted brown jacket, brown trousers, polished shoes, no dirt, no scuffs. Like he'd stepped out of a hotel room and collapsed into legend. The only items found were small. A used bus ticket to Glenelg, an unused train ticket to Henley Beach, a comb, chewing gum, and a box of Army Club cigarettes that strangely held Kensita's branded cigarettes inside. Then came the autopsy. The brain was congested. The stomach was full of blood. The spleen was enlarged, 3 times the normal size. Signs that suggested poisoning. But no toxins were ever found. The pathologist, Dr. John Dwyer, was clear in his confusion. The heart was good. Death is not natural, but I cannot say what caused it. This wasn't random. This was precise, controlled, as if someone had drawn a line, then vanished behind it. 2 months later, a breakthrough. At Adelaide railway station, staff uncovered a brown suitcase. It had been checked in the day before the body was found, unclaimed, forgotten. But inside, something strange. There were clothes, a stenciling brush, a screwdriver, undergarments, and a coat with a feather stitching pattern more common in American tailoring. One pair of trousers had been mended with an orange waxed linen thread, Barber brand. That thread wasn't sold in Australia. It was only available in the UK and the United States. Whoever this man was, he had access to materials from overseas, and stitched into one garment was the name, T. Keane. But there was no T. Keane missing. And just like the body, all other clothing labels had been removed. The suitcase raised more questions than it answered, but the biggest clue wasn't in the suitcase. It was found, tossed in the back seat of a stranger's car, a copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. On the final page, torn, missing. But hidden deep in the spine of that book was a tiny scroll of paper, Tamam Shud. It matched the one found in the man's pocket. On the inside cover of the book, a phone number, and a series of strange, cipher-like letters, grouped, repeated, crossed out. No one has ever cracked it. Not then, not now. The number inside the book led them to a woman. She was a nurse, young, experienced. Her house just minutes from where the body was found. She worked at a hospital. And in 1948, that meant access to things most people never saw. Morphine, digitalis, scopolamine, chloral hydrate, sodium pentothal. Any one of them could kill silently. Some wouldn't even show up in tests of the time. She could walk down a hallway carrying any of them. No one would stop her. No one would question it. After all, she was a nurse. Detectives showed her the plaster bust of the Somerton Man. She didn't just pause. She nearly collapsed. But she never admitted to knowing him. Never explained the number. She kept her job. She kept her silence. Some truths aren't buried with the dead. Some are buried by the living. And the investigation, it ended right there. Among fringe theorists, some claimed the Somerton Man was a Soviet operative, silenced for a failed mission. Others believed he was a courier, or a spy carrying secrets too sensitive to survive. But one theory, quietly persistent, is that he was American. The barber thread in his trousers. It wasn't sold in Australia. It was manufactured in the UK and the United States. The feather stitching in his coat, common in American tailoring, but rare in Australia at the time. Add to that the Cold War backdrop, the coded message, the surgical erasure of identity, and the silence that followed. What if he was a US asset? What if something went wrong on foreign soil and the cost of exposure was too high? He disappears, no record, no response, no name. It wouldn't be the first time a country buried its own. In the end, the Somerton Man left behind no name, no story, no voice, only questions. Was he a spy who failed, or a man who succeeded so well he was never meant to be found? Was he running from something, or sent to disappear quietly, on purpose? Why were the tags removed? Why the scrap of poetry? Why that book, in that car, so close to that nurse? Why did she nearly collapse when shown his face, but say nothing? Why would someone be killed so cleanly, yet left so carefully staged? And why, after all this time, does it still feel like someone wanted us to keep looking? Some stories aren't solved. They're left open on purpose, so that someone else finds them and keeps asking. So now it's your turn. You've seen the evidence. You've followed the trail. You've heard what we were allowed to hear. The paper in his pocket said, Tamam Shud. It is finished. But is it? Or was that the beginning?